Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Lethal Weapon 3, which is the third film in the Lethal Weapon series, and it's also the fifth film that we are watching for our multiplex contemporary popular cinema module for my university course. Hold on, sorry, hang on, I'm just getting something. Hang on. Okay. Apparently, it's not Lethal Weapon 3 we've been watching, but it was set in Los Angeles and it featured police officers going after these guys robbing a bank, and they were surfing and it's Point Break. Can we start again? Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Point Break, a 1991 action film directed by, at the time, James Cameron's wife, Catherine Bigelow, although I'm not sure if they're still married. And this is the actual start of the review, as the sketch was a joke, because I made that joke because when I was watching this film, there was it did feel like I don't know, am I sure I'm not watching a Lethal Weapon film because it's set in Los Angeles, and features police officers trying to capture these thieves, robbers, these bank robbers, after they've pulled a lot of bank robberies. So these police officers have to try and catch the robbers. So it did feel like, as it was set in LA, and it was an action crime thriller, it did feel like it could have been a Lethal Weapon film. It was. I know it's not a Lethal Weapon film because A, I've seen all of them, and B, I knew this was a film called Point Break. It was completely different characters, completely different story. But when I was watching the film, it did have a couple of Lethal Weapon vibes, to an extent. Okay, Los Angeles isn't shown to be as sunny as it is in the Lethal Weapon films, but there is a lot of brilliant visual imagery of the city, especially of the beaches. But yeah, the sketch was basically a joke. This is not a Lethal Weapon sequel. In this film, we see a FBI agent, actually, not the police, an FBI agent called Agent Utah, played by Keanu Reeves, assigned to assist another FBI agent played by Gary Busey, who was in the last film I'm watching for my multiplex contemporary popular cinema university module, which this film is the fifth of. I forgot to mention that at the start. Sorry about that. But yeah, Gary Busey's been in two of these films now that I'm watching for my university module. Anyway, so these two FBI agents have to try and catch these robbers, these bank robbers, who wear the masks of ex American presidents such as Ronald Reagan, Nixon, Carter, I think, was another one, and I think the last one was Truman. Not Harry Truman. It's Johnson, Lyndon B. Johnson. So they've got masks of some of the past presidents of the last 20 to 25 years. And they're robbing banks, basically, just for the thrill of it. So Utah and Gary Busey are having to try and stop these guys. And Busey's character has the theory that they might be surfers. They could be surfers because of the patterns of the robberies over the last couple of years. They come in during the summer periods when the surfers are around. So he thinks that it's possibly a gang of surfers who are robbing the banks. So Utah goes undercover as a surfer to investigate, and he meets with this girl who I can't actually remember the character's name now. But he meets with this girl who teaches him how to surf, and he eventually befriends a group of surfers led by Bodhi, played by Patrick Swayze. And it's this group of surfers who turn out to be the gang of robbers. There is another gang who try to attack Utah because they're the big league surfers. They're big game, um, like a religion for them. And Utah is basically an upstarter. And because he has an accident one day with um, the big league ones, shall we say? Those guys try to attack him, but he's saved by Bodhi. Later on, they believe that the big league ones, because they're not very nice big league ones, unlike Bodhi and his gang. Later on, Utah and Gary Busey's character then try to stage a coup at the other big lead's house, as they're the ones suspected of possibly being the robbers. It turns out they're not, but they are in some sort of using a lot of drugs and stuff, and they and some girls that are there are killed or arrested, except one of them who is an undercover agent, and is crossed that his operation has been foiled because he was trying to get into the center of this operation, but now it's been the police have come after them early, so to speak. So, whoopsies. Eventually, Utah then realizes it is Bodhi and his gang, and Bodhi and his gang realize that Utah is a FBI agent, so they try to deal with him in a more humane way by kidnapping the girl who Utah was taught by and got into a relationship with for a period of time, and they hold her hostage, so they make him come with them on a robbery, and then eventually attempt to escape, whilst Utah then chases them down. So that's more or less the plot of this film, and it is a great film. This is another great film on this module, uni module. Another great film I watched for it, and it's another great buddy cop pairing film with Utah and also Gary Busey's character. And also, I suppose you could argue Utah and Bodhi, they're like buddies, even though it's the main, it's the cop and the robber basically. But it's great seeing these two on screen together, Swayze and Reeves. They are so good, and the chemistry works really well as friends and frenemies when the time's required. It's so great. I also liked the interactions between Utah and his teacher slash girlfriend. Some great bits with them, and yeah, I think the cast are really great in their roles. I really liked Gary Busey's character in this film. Then again, I liked his character in Lethal Weapon and in Predator too. He does a great job here, as well as the slightly older sidekick to Reeves, Keanu Reeves' character, Agent Utah. Actually, that is another Lethal Weapon similarity: the older and the younger partners, the more experienced one and the less experienced one. Or in this case, well, actually, Riggs was quite experienced, but you know what I mean. Although neither of them are black, there isn't as many black characters in this film at all, actually. So that's not as so that's a difference. Similarly, the main girl character, I will mention this. I mean, she is quite a tough character, but she also does get kidnapped, so it's kind of like a mix of the attempting to have a tough character, only for them to be stereotypically kidnapped and not really do anything to at the very end. Come to think of it, which is a shame because she was a pretty good character, but just resorted to being kidnapped and didn't really help herself, nor did she really do anything once she was rescued. Regardless of that, the characters are pretty strong and the story is pretty great, as we're seeing Utah infiltrate this group of surfers and become more friendly with them before ultimately they realize one and the other are up against the enemy, and then they have to try and sort it out in a way, and it works pretty effectively. The one character I don't like is this guy who shouts a lot. Gets like really, really easily pissed off and really easily angry. And I really loved it when in the aftermath of the robbery, Utah is forced to take part in that aftermath scene. Gary Busey's character punches the bastard, who the character I don't like, and it was super satisfying. I was super satisfied with that. In fact, I would have loved Gary Busey just to beat the fucker up as much as he wanted. Go Gary Busey's character. You were awesome. And that fucker can just go fuck himself. I suppose I suppose he learns his lesson in the end, but we don't really see that. Just get punched by Gary Busey. Good enough for me. Unfortunately, Gary Busey's character then gets killed like a scene or two later. Ugh. Well, I've just spoiled the moment for me. What's worse is that Busey's character wasn't really being that smart when he ended up being killed. At least he was a great character. The visuals in this one are pretty strong. I think Catherine Bigelow does a fantastic job directing, and the cinematography is great. The editing is pretty great. There's some great stunts, great movements. The skydiving scene is one of the best ones I've seen. I've not seen an awful lot, but out of the ones I've seen, I think this is my favourite. I think the only other ones I've seen are from Moonraker and the first Kingsman film, Kingsman: The Secret Service, and those were some great skydiving scenes. Yeah, Moonraker's got a bit of dodgy rear background projection, but it's still a great scene and one of the highlights of that film. Whilst Kingsman: The Secret Service had a bit more tension in the fact that it was a training exercise where one of the agents had supposedly not had a parachute in there, have a parachute, and it was a training exercise. Here, this is just for fun. Well, actually, we've got two scenes in this film. We've got two skydiving scenes in this film, and the first one is for fun, and the other one is more of a chase scene. But the first one has quite a bit of tension because by this point, Utah knows that Bodhi and the gang are the surfers. The surfers are the robbers, and Bodhi and the gang know Utah is the agent after them. So there is that bit of tension of, is Bodhi or the gang going to try and kill Utah during this scene? Or how long until they make some sort of move against him? It's only after this scene actually happens is when Bodhi reveals that they've kidnapped Utah's girlfriend and holding her hostage and make him come with them for a bit. So yeah, that first skydiving scene, brilliant. On a second viewing, it probably wouldn't have as much tension if you know what's going on, unless you've not seen the film for a while, or you've forgotten about what happens. But it probably would still lose it. But on a second viewing or more viewings, it would probably lose that tension that the first viewing you would have, but it would still be a fantastic scene on a visual level, and it's just so much fun and enjoyable. The second scene is more of a chase scene, so the tension is still there of whether Utah's going to catch Bodhi or not, or Bodhi's going to kill Utah still, or whatever. It's a great moment in the chase towards the end, and there's some great chase scenes throughout this movie, as well as at the very end. We've also got the one where Utah and Bodhi kind of realize that the other one's after each other, and this is the scene in that Hot Fuzz references the film Hot Fuzz has with Utah on his back, and then instead of shooting at Bodhi, he shoots his gun up into the air, yelling. And we see a bit of this clip in the film Hot Fuzz, that the main characters are watching the film and they're watching that scene, and then later the second main character of that film, Danny Butterworth, does something very similar, as he can't be brought to shoot at the person he's chasing. I won't say who because of spoilers for that film, but I will say it's someone very personal to him, more personal than Bodhi is to Utah. But I love how they showed this clip of this film in Hot Fuzz, and then they have one of the characters of that film then do the exact same thing later on. It's sort of a setup payoff parody / referencing in a positive reference way. It's a homage. It's a lovely homage in that film. I might talk more about Hot Fuzz in a potential review later down the line. I would like to see that film again and give that a review. Back to Point Break. This is a brilliantly made film. It's such a great action-packed film. Some great characters and some great moments, and even some iconic moments. Some great lines as well. Some pretty cool stuff. And it's all around a great film put together really nicely. And I thought the final scene was pretty good. I thought it was a great way to wrap up the story, and worked on a pretty cool and works on a pretty great emotional level. Although we've moved from LA to somewhere in Australia, and we've got some Australian cops, and apparently they haven't got very good Australian accents. I didn't really notice that they were bad Australian accents. I just noticed they were Australian accents, but apparently they're not very good. So yeah, take that as you will. I didn't really notice that they were that bad. I just heard the accents. I didn't notice if they were bad or not. But yeah, the ending is pretty great, and this is a great film overall. So I will be giving Point Break a 9 out of 10. Yeah, this is a really great film. A few kind of niggles, and it is a bit slow to begin with, which makes a lot of sense when you're starting the investigation and then infiltrating a group. But it's kind of gets a little bit going. The surfing scenes are also really great, and the cinematography of how they were captured and the choreography of the surfing is all really great. Some really great stuff here. So, Point Break. Brilliant film. Thank you for watching this review. The next film I'll be watching, or rather I have already watched it, but the next film that I've seen for my multiplex contemporary popular cinema unique course that I will be reviewing will be another film from 1991, Thelma and Louise. Oh boy. Now that is a cracking film. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Lethal Weapon 3. That's... sorry. Right, that can be the sketch. Okay. Hello ladies and gentlemen to the actual start of the review of but when I was watching the film, it just had that essence of Lethal Weapon to an extent, minus maybe some of the buddy cop. Actually, okay, this but yeah, that sketch was basically a joke. It was just a joke because of this film just brought up some similarities between but yeah, the sketch was basically the sketch was basically a joke, because of how I felt about the film. No, played by Gary Busey, who I mentioned at the end of the last review. He's in this. And because he makes a mistake whilst out there with the ones that do it as a living, I suppose, not a living. Oh well, never mind. Actually, you would have thought having a female director, you probably would have had more female characters. Actually, I'll cut that. That's not an excuse. Regardless of that, the action is still pretty strong. What's worse is that Busey's character stopped. But I think out of the ones I have seen, this is a fantastic. This is probably it'd probably still be brilliant, but wouldn't have with less tension. And that's the bit which Hot Fuzz parodies when Keanu first shows in a. But that's more for a Hot Fuzz pop. But that's more for a potential Hot Fuzz review. We'll stick with this. But anyway, so Point Break, on the other hand, just still Point Break is. I'll just take people's words for it. I might take. I'm probably taking person. Anyway, but yeah, the ending's still a really great ending, and it's a this is a great film. Overall, I think next time we're on to, so the next film. But next film I'll be reviewing. Oh boy, that's a great one.